Originally used to define the Windrush generation, the Black British identity has evolved to relate to Bretonians from both the Caribbean and African diaspora. It's a celebration of Afro-Caribbean hair, food, music, and most importantly, community. But for those lacking that sense of belonging, defining who you are is a challenge like no other. Black children in foster care are more likely to face disruptions to cultural learning experiences than any other ethnic groups, which can later affect their self-image. Keely Stevenson spent most of her time in care struggling to understand her own cultural identity.
My mother, to my knowledge, was from Jamaica, and my dad, I grew up thinking that my dad was actually from Saudi Arabia, but it turns out my dad was actually from Sudan. So I encountered a lot of not knowing my identity and sort of not having a direction about who I was. Not having my mother and my father around almost made me feel like I was just a lifeless person without any sort of parents, without any sort of governance, which made me feel like I was a bit like left and alluring to myself.
Keely now campaigns for a more diverse matching process, saying it's a solution to the cultural identity crisis faced by black children in foster care.
I think what a lot of local authorities are not getting right is the matching process. So basically what that entails is that they tend to put black children with white foster carers or with European foster carers. And I understand that not black foster carers are not always available, but I think that, they should try and get the matching process right, because it's the matching process that will enable a young person's identity to be felt and to be accepted.
While Keely's call for culture to be a bigger deciding factor in the matching process is all good and well, there is just one problem. The latest government data shows that there are 57,000 approved mainstream foster carers in the UK, yet less than a fifth of them are black. Even in 2022, when 10,000 new foster carers were approved, only 18% of them are from an ethnic minority background. And in the same year that only 2% of black foster children were adopted, some say the solution is to encourage more black families to foster.
From some of the research that we're doing and we're talking to people, there is the appetite for black families that want to be foster carers. However, when they are introduced to the system, it scares them away.
Rachel is a former foster parent and runs an organisation aiming to attract more black foster carers. She says the cultural misunderstanding is what's preventing black families from joining the care industry.
So it's really quite difficult, having people come into your home who are sometimes not from your culture, but then picking apart and not understanding particular things about it. And not everyone will want to have that experience, and that is for people in general. But then we look and we dive into culture and we just think that is very problematic. It is important for children to understand their heritage. At the end of the day, where we are at the moment, there's not enough black foster carers, and that's not going to change overnight.
And that's true. Increasing the number of black foster carers will not be an easy task. So I attended a Crowned with Care event in London, which is making a step in the right direction in placing the cultural needs of black looked after children at the forefront by tackling one of the most important aspects of a black child's identity, their hair.
So Crowned with Care is important to me, having grown up with my grandparents who were foster carers. So I've always been around looked after children, and I've known from a young age that things like this would be really important. A lot of the children of black and mixed heritage that would end up with my grandparents often had neglected hair, or they really struggled with their self-image. And as an adult now, obviously running my hair studio and all these different things, I realised that, this is something that I could do to give back. I could bring together all these hairstylists and create something really beautiful. As black people, we have additional costs that we find essential. Things like our hair is something that's huge in terms of identity. So I guess in the future, it's literally just also continuing the education, offering more resources to foster carers. We just need to equip them with the correct tools so they understand exactly how important some of these things are, and that they're not alone, and that there's people there that are going to teach them without any judgment, without any prejudice, nothing like that. It's all about just helping these kids.
This is only the second event from Crowned with Care, but it's gained much needed attention from big brands and news outlets. Events like this mean so much for looked after children. However, local authorities recognize that more still needs to be done to help build and maintain cultural identity amongst black children in foster care.
Hi, I'm James Carbo. I'm co-founder of Replenish Culture.
James has also worked in the care industry for over a decade. And he says local authorities need to refocus their attention to the importance of culture in the development of black children in the care system.
I think for too long, maybe it's been enough to have a bed for a child to sleep on and food, safety. We've been kind of fixated with those basic things. But I think local authorities need to be open to what this means for children in care. Local authorities can do a lot in the space of creating an environment where people can kind of show up and reveal who they are. Ultimately, what we want is children to develop a positive self-esteem, to love themselves, to feel good about themselves, because if they achieve that, they'll be more likely to go out into the world and contribute positively. When you look good, you feel good, and when you feel good, you tend to do good things.
Keely certainly feels good in her newfound identity as Caribbean and Sudanese, but she wishes she had told her younger self about how important this journey would be.
I would say that your current situation is not your final destination, and I would also say that broken crayons still colour.
The desire to make a difference in the lives of black looked after children is very visible, and events like Crowned with Care showed that. While there's a lot more appreciation in the black identity than when Keely was in care, there's a long way to go in helping black children in foster care discover who they are.